Hi, my name's Marty Richardson from ChefMartyRich.com. Welcome back to our Holiday Entertaining Tip Series. Today I want to go over my top 5 beef roasts for your Christmas dinner. I hope you caught one of my earlier videos when I discussed the anatomy of the cow and the primal parts, because that will give you a clue as to where you're going to find the best roast for your holiday entertaining. If not, a quick review. This primal part up in the front, the shoulder and the neck area, is called the chuck. Then comes the rib, then the short loin, then the sirloin, and the round. So, starting from the front, there is the chuck roast, but it's not in my top 5. The second section is the rib section, and that's where your standing rib roast comes from. Now, an entire standing rib roast is 7 ribs wide, and that's a really big piece of meat. It's probably about 15 to 17 pounds. And at a pound a person, it's going to feed a crowd, so if you've got an open house or lots of guests, you might want to consider a whole one. If not, you can get the standing rib cut any way you like. There is a difference between one end and the other end. The end that's closer to the chuck primal part is called the large end, or the second cut. It's got a little bit more fat in it, but it's still pretty tender. The king of roast is the small end, the end that comes from the middle of the rib section towards the loin. Small end, or the first cut. So make sure that you ask for that specifically. Your meat cutter or butcher will know what you're talking about. Now, a 3-rib roast is generally 6 or 7 pounds. A 5-rib roast, 10 to 12 pounds. And like I said, a 7-rib roast is upwards of 15, 17, 18 pounds sometimes. In the next primal part, the short loin, is where your top loin roast comes from. Now, a single steak taken out of the top loin roast is a New York strip. I'm sure you're familiar with that. So, that whole roast is 8 to 10 pounds. It's boneless. It has fat only on one side. But if you choose to roast a top loin roast, make sure that your meat cutter takes the fat off of the top, because there's a layer of silver skin under that. And that silver skin shrinks faster than the meat when it cooks, and it will make your roast buckle, and you don't want that to happen. In that same area, you'll find the tenderloin, and the tenderloin is the muscle least used in the cow. So, it's the most tender. Some tenderloin pieces are 6 pounds, maybe it could be a little heavier than that. They generally should feed 10 to 12 people. It's boneless, and most of the fat is around the outside. There's not much fat that runs through a tenderloin at all, hardly even with prime. It's very rare. Then the next section is the sirloin, and that's where the top sirloin roast comes from. That's an 8 to 14 pound roast. It's much more economical than your roast from the short loin or the rib primal part. Good beef flavor, much more economical. The last section, the rump area, another working muscle, top round roast. This is the largest single muscle in the cow, and generally what a deli or a restaurant roast for roast beef. Now, so this is a great piece of meat, but the key is to make sure that you have very thin slices, because it's not very tender. Okay, so the roasts that come from the rib section, the short loin, and the sirloin are going to be much more tender. But it's still a good piece of meat. It's just the way you cut it. You can't cut a big slab of it and expect people to enjoy. Okay, I hope that helped you out a bit. I'm going to have a few more follow-up videos on how to prepare a couple of different cuts for the oven, and then roast them off and show you what they look like. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you soon.